It's dark in here. It's always dark in here for some reason. I got these new fans, and the bulbs doesn't bother me. You? Where are we? We're in Le Fleur Suite. So ground floor, big two-room suite. Le Fleur is French word, means the flowers. Okay, there's a bunch of Mardi Gras flowers in the other room, and then there's usually paintings of flowers that I made at one point. I don't enjoy painting, but I got plenty of empty wall space, so then I'll paint a picture. That's what I went to school for. Years and years ago. La Belle Esplanade, small bed and breakfast hotel in New Orleans, and what are we doing? We're reading Lost Restaurants of New Orleans. And this one was just leafing through because I don't want to talk about French Quarter restaurants all the time. You'll notice I very rarely mention them when we go through this book. Not because I have anything against the French Quarter. I don't. I mean, if you're coming, that's where you should go, right? I go occasionally, but I don't. I wouldn't say I don't eat there. I eat there when I'm down there, a couple times a year. I like to go to Antoine's, but that's a story for another day, because this is real history we're getting here, not just restaurant history, but some real New Orleans culinary history. So this is Martin's Po' Boy restaurant, which was in the French Quarter on Ursuline's at Decatur Street, so close to the river. Okay, Ursuline's is 1-2 Barracks, Governor Nichols, Ursuline. Esplanade is the boundary of the French Quarter on the downriver side of the quarter. Next street in is Barrack Street, which is right behind me right here. And then you have Governor Nichols Street, and then you have Ursuline's Street in the French Quarter. And then once you get out of the quarter, you get across Rampart, it becomes Ursuline's Avenue. There you go. Ursuline's is one of my favorite streets. I really like it. I like Ursuline's, especially on the other side of Broad. It's all shady. It's really, really pretty. And I like Dumaine Street. Those are the two streets behind us that I enjoy the most. And of course, over here, Esplanade Avenue, the queen of New Orleans streets. Anyhow, Martin's Po' Boy Restaurant, French Quarter, Ursuline Street at Decatur. It was also in the Marigny at 1940 St. Claude Avenue. Okay, and it was around from 1919 when the restaurant started, and it finally closed in 1975. So Martin's has a well-documented distinction. It invented the poor boy sandwich. The story has been known for a long time, but the coming of the annual Po' Boy Festival in 2007 triggered a great deal of research and scholarship on the subject. It unearthed convincing evidence that indeed Clovis and Benny Martin, Clovis, that's a nice name, and Benny Martin started making the iconic New Orleans sandwich during the controversial 1929 New Orleans transit strike, when most of the streetcar conductors and motormen went on the picket line. The idea was to provide the poor boys, quote unquote, out on the picket lines with a big filling sandwich containing only scraps of meat for a low price. It originally cost a nickel, but the Martin brothers dispensed a lot of them for free. Martin Brothers Restaurant began as a French market stall selling coffee, donuts, and lunches. It served food. That's a nice picture. Can you see? That's old school. I love that. I'd go to a place like that. Old Union Brew. Okay, anyhow. Where was I? The food it served, the poor boy sandwich in particular, made the place so popular that in 1931 the brothers moved to the corner of St. Claude Avenue and Tureau Street. Well, that's not too far from that location on Decatur. Tureau is where? No, I'm thinking Podger. Where's Tureau? It's in the Marigny, of course, because it crosses St. Claude. It's not as far as the Bywater. Anyhow, I'm sure you're fascinated by that. So it could have a parking lot. That's why it moved across to Tureau. During all the years it was at that intersection, Martin's hardly ever closed, serving its full menu around the clock 7 days a week, until shortly before the end of its history in 1975. The story of the poor boy has one more player, John Genduza. I didn't realize that. He owned a French bread bakery 2 blocks up Truro from St. Claude. Martin's has sold so many of its poor boys that it had a production problem. The standard French bread of the 1930s was a double-ended torpedo with a wide, thick middle and tapering ends. Genduza created a loaf uniform width for its entire 3-foot length. It all but replaced the old shape. And that's how you get po' boy bread today, as a matter of fact. And you'll notice I'm saying po' boy, not poor boy, because they dropped the OR. So it's I mean, you see it written poor boy, but usually you see po' apostrophe boy. Overstuffed. They're always overstuffed. Pardon me. Coronavirus. What am I doing here? So, while Martin's and John Genduza is still open, it's still a bakery. It's not there on Truro Street. It's way up on, what is it? St. Anthony and something. Fillmore, maybe. Fillmore or, no, I think it's Fillmore. Never mind. So, the deliciousness of Martin kept a reputation for the best poor boys in town until it closed. The sandwich spread from one neighborhood cafe and bar to another until it was the universal New Orleans sandwich, which it still is to this day. The deliciousness of Martin's sandwiches could not be explained by the quality of the raw materials. Picky people would not have wanted to open the thing up and look at the beef. The gravy was the tastemaker. That and the other thing that few of Martin's imitators picked up on. After the cook assembled the sandwich completely, he put the whole thing in a hot oven for a couple of minutes. This toasted the bread on the outside and set loose the irresistible aroma of hot bread. To this day, only a minority of poor boy makers understands what a difference that makes. The price of the sandwich lived up to its name. In the 1970s, a roast beef po' boy at Martin's was 50 cents. A potato po' boy, made with fresh-cut French fries, roast beef gravy, and the usual dressing of lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise, was all of 40 cents. The lowball item was the BLT po' boy for 35 cents. The rest of the menu was good too. 50 cents would get you to red beans and rice with hot sausage for further investment of a quarter. The sausage was grilled to order and plopped on top of the beans with a good bit of the rendered sausage grease. I never had a better plate of beans than that one. In my college days, I had many plates of the stuff at 2 in the morning. Yeah. Even I'm nowadays, I'm up at 2 in the morning. I usually get up in the middle of the night. That's why I live in New Orleans, because it is, under normal circumstances, it's a 24-hour city, and there's only something open. Well, there's only something open now, but I don't feel like hanging out at the gas station or anything. But 24-hour bar? Sure, we got that. 24-hour restaurant? Sure. Why not? People hanging out. Go to Buffa's. They never close. All right. Also on the menu were pork chops, veal chops, hamburger steaks, fried seafood, fried chicken, and everything else you could imagine on the menu of a restaurant that served working people for decades. All of it was at least pretty good. The fried stuff was tremendous, perhaps because of the presence of the hand-cut fries they routinely served here. A lady in the neighborhood made a yellow layer cake with chocolate icing, and you always ordered the minute you sat down in case it was the last one in the house. Some real characters stepped into Martin's from the streets, especially late at night. Some of them showed up to work. Martin's staff was a highly miscellaneous crew, most of them with their own amusing and maddening quirks. The Martin brothers split in the 1950s. Benny kept the Poor Boy restaurant. Brother Clovis went on to open several other eateries around town. The most famous of these was Martin Brothers Restaurant on Chef Mentor Highway, just on the other side of the Industrial Canal drawbridge. So, yeah, it's like where Dowman Road is. Dowman and Chef Highway. Nobody goes there. We just had some guests, and they were driving along the lake, right, on Lakeshore Drive, I guess it's called, and then they went over the Industrial Canal, and they took Downman Road, and they're like, I think we saw the worst part of town. I'm like, where were you? I didn't know where they were in New Orleans East, and they're like, it was very run down And on one side of the street was a preschool, and on the other side of the street was a strip club. I said, "Oh, you were on Downman, you were on Downman Road. I know where you're at." So, I know somebody who goes to that strip club. Not me. I don't go there. But I know somebody who raves about it. He says it's the best in town. I think it's called Visions. I digress. So anyhow, a much bigger place with a lengthier menu, Martin Brothers over on Chef Highway, was also open 24 hours a day. Poor boy sandwiches, of course, loomed large among the choices. Martin Brothers on Chef was a busy restaurant. It was on US 90, the main east-west route out of town, which, yeah, it would have been. There was no I-10 at that point. It would have been Route 90. That's how I came into town the first time. I took 90, all the way from Alabama. Anyhow, it was closed. Well, it was especially busy in the wee hours. Martin Brothers had its healthy volume shot out from under it when the I-10 high-rise bridge replaced US 90. It closed in the early 1980s. The original Martin's Po' Boy restaurant shut down in 1975. The neighborhood had declined a good deal in the last 5 years, and after a couple of violent incidents at the restaurant, the family decided to bring that important chapter of New Orleans eating to a close. But their famous sandwich continues its illustrious career. That is the truth, because people comment like, well, where's the best po' boy in town? Melanie and I were always like, what neighborhood are you in? Every neighborhood has its own po' boy shop. They're all good. I mean, it's really hard to, it's a big sandwich, okay? So if you're in our neighborhood, Parkway Bakery and Tavern is up on the bayou on Hagen Avenue. And they're famous. They're known as the best, okay, in town. And it's good. I like it there. It gets very, very crowded though, so you got to time it right. A line will go up around the block. I know, cough in your elbow. But the other place I like to send people is, of course, La Yutz's by the track. Okay, so Parkway is good. Roast beef po' boy is good. I like the barbecue beef myself, but the roast beef po' boy, good. Shrimp po' boy, good, which is just fried shrimp, a loaf of French bread. You get it dressed: lettuce, tomato, pickles, mayonnaise. Okay, I usually get the meatball po' boy, dressed with no mayonnaise. So some red sauce and the pickles, I like it. That's me. But the other place to go is La Yutz's by the track. You go up Esplanade Avenue, and right behind the Splish Splash Washateria is La Yutz's by the track. They've been there since the 20s. They're known for their barbecue shrimp po' boy, which is beautiful. And one, they got the best gumbo in town, okay? Best everyday gumbo. So when I go, I just have a bowl of gumbo. I'm watching my cholesterol, so I don't eat barbecue shrimp but once a year when my mother comes, and then we go to Mr. B's down in the quarter, have barbecue shrimp. So, but La Yutz's by the track has the garlic and oyster po' boy, and also the roast beef with horseradish. They never put enough horseradish on me. And Jimmy, who owns the place, he said, just tell them to put extra on. So that's what I'll do next time I go. But normally I just have the gumbo. I'm happy. Gumbo and a big schooner of Dixie. All right. So that'll do it. So after this coronavirus dies down, please come to New Orleans. The city is eerily quiet right now. Beautiful weather, of course, because this is normally our busiest season. Is March, April, May, right? Go figure. So this is usually the busiest season because the weather is perfect, okay? It's not too humid. It's 80 degrees, but it's not humid out. And usually we have a lot of festivals, like French Quarter Fest would have been either this weekend or next weekend. And then you have Jazz Fest. All of that has been rescheduled for October, which is already a busy month because, again, the weather's very nice. There's a lot of conventions in town. And don't touch your face. I don't think I get it up here. we already have like Halloween, which really isn't that big a holiday here, but it is. It gets a lot of tourists in town. And then you have Voodoo Fest, which is a giant music festival up at City Park at the end of our street. And a lot of conventions in town in October. Maybe this year too. Who knows? Who knows what's going on? So have yourselves a great New Orleans day today. And a votre santé, mes amis. Check us out on labelleesplanade.com. And if you're really interested in what I'm up to, read the blog. It's called New Orleans State of Mind. New Orleans State of Mind.blogspot.com. Old school blogger. All right. On that note, catch you on the flip side. Ciao.